My phone buzzed at my desk and I almost ignored it. Another message from Rachel, probably. Another crisis about her dating life that required immediate analysis. But when I glanced at the screen, my blood turned to ice water. Check your email, now, before you go home. Not from Rachel. From her number, yes, but the tone was wrong. Rachel ended every text with exclamation points and hearts. This was surgical. Cold. Final. I opened my laptop with trembling fingers, clicked on my personal Gmail. One new message. Subject line, Kevin deserves better. The attachment was 247 pages. Screenshots. Every cruel thing I'd ever texted Rachel about my husband over the past 6 years. Every mockery, every intimate detail, every vicious complaint I'd thumbed out while he slept beside me, unaware his wife was dissecting their marriage for her best friend's entertainment. Page 1 started gentle, almost innocent. From 2018. God, Kevin's snoring again. How does someone so skinny make that much noise? By page 50, the texts had curdled into something uglier. He cried during Marley and Me last night. Cried. What kind of grown man sobs over a dog movie? I was so embarrassed I pretended to be asleep. Page 100. Sex is like a chore now. 3 minutes of fumbling and then he asks if it was good for me. I've started faking orgasms just to get it over with faster. Page 200. His mother called again. If I have to hear about her bunions one more time, I'm filing for divorce. Kevin just sits there nodding like her medical problems are fascinating. Mama's boy through and through. The last page was from 3 days ago. Dinner with his boss tonight. Bet Kevin wears that stupid blue tie that makes him look like a used car salesman. God, I hate these things. Pretending we're some happy couple when really I can barely stand to look at him anymore. My hands shook as I scrolled back through the pages, seeing the methodical escalation Rachel had documented. She'd organized them chronologically, adding her own annotations in red text. Next to a particularly vicious text about Kevin's weight gain. He started running after this, you never noticed. Next to my mockery of his promotion. He turned down a job in San Francisco because you said you didn't want to move. The most damning addition was a photo I'd forgotten about. Kevin asleep on the couch, mouth open, drooling slightly. I'd sent it to Rachel with the caption, "My sexy husband, ladies and gentlemen, living the dream." Her annotation, "He'd just spent 16 hours at the hospital with your mother during her surgery. You were at a spa weekend." At the bottom, Rachel had added her own message. "I've been complicit in this cruelty for too long. Kevin's a good man who deserves to know what his wife really thinks of him. I sent this to him an hour ago. He's probably reading it right now. Maybe it's time you started being honest for once in your life. Don't contact me again." The room spun. I gripped my desk, trying to process what had just happened. Rachel, my college roommate, my maid of honor, my supposed ride or die, had just detonated a nuclear bomb in the middle of my marriage. I called Kevin, straight to voicemail, called again, nothing. His office line rang endlessly. By the third attempt, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hit the right numbers. A text came through. Kevin. "Got an interesting email today. We'll talk when you get home." 4 words that felt like a death sentence. I drove home in a haze, running yellow lights, my mind racing through damage control scenarios. Maybe I could claim the texts were taken out of context. Maybe Rachel had edited them somehow. Maybe Kevin hadn't read all 247 pages. Maybe. His car was in the driveway. The house was quiet when I entered. No TV, no music, no sounds of dinner being prepared. I found him in the living room, sitting in his recliner with his laptop open. My texts filled the screen. "Kevin," I started. He held up a hand without looking at me. "I'm on page 187. Give me a few more minutes to finish." I stood frozen in the doorway, watching my husband read 6 years of vitriol I'd spewed about him. His face remained neutral, but I saw his jaw tighten at certain passages. Saw him pause, reread, continue. Each minute felt like an hour. Finally, he closed the laptop. When he looked at me, his eyes were red-rimmed but dry. 6 years, he said quietly. For 6 years, you've been tearing me apart to Rachel, making fun of everything from my appearance to my emotions to our sex life. Is there any part of me you actually like? Kevin, those texts weren't real, weren't what you meant, because they seem pretty damn specific for fiction. I was venting. Everyone complains about their spouse to friends. Complaining is Kevin forgot to take out the trash again. This, he gestured at the laptop, this is character assassination. Page after page of it. I moved into the room, tried to sit on the couch near him. He flinched away. Don't, he said. Just don't. I need to understand something. When I was crying at my father's funeral last year, and you held me, told me it was okay to let it out, were you texting Rachel about how weak I looked? My silence was answer enough. I had. God help me, I had. Lost it at the funeral, full waterworks. His whole family saw. So embarrassing. Jesus Christ, Delia. He ran his hands through his hair. The hair I'd mocked for thinning, for needing better styling, for looking like his father's. My dad had just died. I was grieving. And you were embarrassed? It wasn't like that. Page 234 says otherwise. Should I read it out loud? Kevin's still moping about his dad. It's been 2 weeks. How long is this going to last? I signed up for a husband, not a therapy patient. Deceit, sus. Each of my own words, now in his voice, hit like a physical blow. Hearing them in his voice, directed at me, stripped of the casual cruelty that had felt so normal in text form. People say things they don't mean when they're frustrated, I tried weakly. For 6 years? Consistently? About every aspect of my life? He stood, paced to the window. Do you know what the worst part is? I thought we were happy. Not perfect, but happy. I thought the little irritations were normal, that overall we had a good marriage. We do have a good marriage. No, I had a good marriage. You had a husband you apparently despise and a friend you could mock him to. He turned back to me. Why didn't you just leave? If I'm so awful, so embarrassing, so inadequate in bed, why stay? The truth was uglier than any lie I could craft. I stayed because Kevin was safe, because he paid half the mortgage, because he did the laundry and remembered birthdays and never complained when I worked late, because being married to someone I felt superior to was easier than being alone. But there was more, wasn't there? I stayed because his family had money, because his job as assistant principal came with excellent health insurance, because being Kevin's wife opened doors in our small Connecticut town that divorced Delia never could. I stayed because I liked the idea of marriage more than I liked my actual husband. I do love you, I said instead. Really? Because according to page 163, you told Rachel that saying, I love you to me feels like swallowing glass. Your words, not mine. I remembered typing that. We'd had a fight about visiting his mother, and I'd been angry. But seeing the hurt in his eyes now, I realized the fight had faded from his memory, while my cruel words had been preserved forever in digital amber. When did Rachel decide to do this? I asked, desperate to deflect. Why now? Does it matter? She did us both a favor, showed me who I really married. He picked up a duffel bag I hadn't noticed by his chair, already packed. I'm staying at my brother's tonight. Tomorrow I'll come back for more of my things. Kevin, please, we can work through this. Counseling. Counseling? You made fun of me for suggesting counseling last year. Page 198. Kevin wants us to see a marriage counselor. Probably wants to cry to a stranger about his feelings. Kill me now. Every text was a landmine exploding in my face. Where's your wedding ring? I noticed suddenly. He looked at his bare finger. In the trash. Seemed appropriate considering you told Rachel that wearing it feels like wearing a shackle. Page 89. I didn't mean... Stop. Just stop saying you didn't mean it. You meant every word. You just never meant for me to see them. He was right. Every cruel observation, every mocking comment, every intimate detail I'd shared, I'd meant them all in the moment. The fact that they were supposed to stay secret didn't make them less true or less cruel. "What do you want me to say?" I asked, sinking onto the couch. "Nothing. There's nothing you can say. You know what really gets me? The sex stuff. Telling Rachel about my body, my performance, my inadequacies. Do you have any idea how violating that feels? To know your wife and her friend have been laughing about the most intimate moments of your life?" She never laughed. Page 156. Rachel says, "OMG, I'm dying," with laugh emojis after you described. You know what? I can't even repeat it. It's too humiliating. I knew exactly what he meant. The text about the weird face he made during orgasm. I'd described it in detail, and Rachel had found it hilarious. At the time, it felt like harmless girl talk. Now, seeing his shoulders shake slightly, I realized I'd turned his vulnerability into entertainment. "Kevin, do you know what I told my brother about you when he asked about our marriage? I said you were brilliant, kind, that you made me want to be a better person, that I was lucky to have found someone who accepted me exactly as I am." He laughed bitterly. "Turns out you never accepted me at all. You just tolerated me while building a case file of my flaws." His voice cracked on the last word, and for a moment I saw something I'd only seen once before. The day his father died. Pure naked grief. But this time, he was grieving us. "Do you know what else Rachel sent me?" he asked suddenly. "Screenshots of texts I wasn't supposed to see, from your group chat with your coworkers." My stomach plummeted. The work group chat, where I'd been even crueler because I was performing for a bigger audience. "The video from the Christmas party," he continued, "where I sang karaoke. You filmed me and sent it to them with laughing emojis. Called it Kevin's American Idol Audition from Hell." They all laughed. Heather wrote back that she felt sorry for you having to listen to that at home. I remembered. Kevin had been so happy that night, slightly drunk, singing "Don't Stop Believing" with complete abandon. I'd been mortified, had filmed it to share my embarrassment, to make my humiliation their entertainment. "Janet from accounting came up to me last week," he said. "Told me I was brave for singing at the party. I thought she was being nice. Now I know she was probably laughing at me the whole time, thanks to you." He headed for the door, duffel bag in hand. "Wait," I said desperately. "What about counseling? What about trying to fix this?" He paused at the threshold. "Fix what? The fact that my wife thinks I'm pathetic? That she's disgusted by my body? That she mocks my emotions to her friend? That's not a communication issue, Delia. That's a character issue. Yours, not mine." "So that's it? 6 years of marriage and you're just walking away?" "No, 6 years of marriage and you threw it away. Text by text. I'm just acknowledging what you've been saying all along, that I'm not enough for you. Well, congratulations. You're free to find someone who doesn't embarrass you by crying at movies, or taking 3 minutes in bed, or loving his mother." The door closed with a quiet click. No slam, no drama. Just Kevin leaving with the same quiet dignity I'd mocked him for. I sat in the empty living room staring at my phone, pulled up Rachel's contact. Her profile picture was from my wedding, the two of us laughing, champagne glasses raised. I remembered that moment. 5 minutes later, I'd texted her from the bathroom. "Did you see Kevin trying to dance? Like a baby giraffe having a seizure." I typed out a message. "How could you do this to me?" Then deleted it, because she hadn't done anything to me. She'd done something for Kevin, something I should have done years ago, told him the truth about who he'd married. My phone rang. My mother. "Delia, Kevin just called, said you two are having problems. He sounded upset." "He's being dramatic," I said automatically, then caught myself. There I went again, minimizing his feelings, making him sound unreasonable. What happened? "I said some things to a friend about him. He found out." "What kind of things?" "Mean things. True things. I don't know, both. My mother was quiet for a moment. When you were little, you used to do this thing. You'd make friends, get close to them, then start picking them apart, finding all their flaws. Remember Sarah from 3rd grade? I remembered. My best friend until I decided she laughed too loud and told everyone she sounded like a donkey. You're doing it again, she continued. Only this time it's your husband, the man who loves you. Loved, past tense. Can you blame him? No, I couldn't. Kevin had never done anything but love me steadily, quietly, completely. And I'd repaid that love by turning him into a punchline for Rachel's amusement. The house felt different without him. Emptier. I heated up leftover pasta. Kevin's recipe, the one I'd told Rachel, was basically ketchup and noodles. It was actually delicious, complex, made with San Marzano tomatoes he special ordered online. But admitting that would have ruined the narrative I'd built of Kevin as unsophisticated, bumbling, less than. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Rachel's husband, James. She showed me the file she sent to Kevin. I'm disgusted. My wife spent years enabling you to emotionally abuse your husband. We're both blocking you. Don't contact us again. Even James, boring James who collected stamps and wore transition lenses, was cutting me off. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd mocked him plenty to Rachel, too. I scrolled through my texts with Rachel, looking at them with new eyes. The cruelty was staggering. Not just toward Kevin, but the casualness of it. The way we'd dissected his every flaw like he was a specimen, not a person. The way I'd shared intimate details like they were gossip, not sacred trusts. There was the text about his penis size, the one about the face he made when concentrating, the detailed description of his anxiety attack, the photo I'd snuck of him sleeping, mouth open, which Rachel had suggested turning into a meme. Each message was worse than the last. 6 years of evidence that I was exactly what Kevin had said, someone with a character issue. I called in sick the next day. Couldn't face the office, where Kevin sometimes sent flowers just because, where I'd rolled my eyes at the cards while co-workers sighed with envy. He came by at noon, as promised, with his brother. They loaded boxes in silence, taking clothes, books, the gaming system I'd complained about. I tried to help, but his brother, Tony, blocked me. Just stay out of the way, Tony said. You've done enough. So I sat on the couch, watching my husband pack up his life. He was methodical, careful not to take anything that wasn't his. Even left the coffee maker he'd bought because I used it more. The divorce papers will come from my lawyer, he said when they were done. I'm not asking for anything except my fair share. You can keep the house if you buy out my half. We don't have to divorce. Yes, we do. I can't be married to someone who has such contempt for me, who's been performing love while feeling disgust. That's not a marriage, it's a performance. I wasn't performing. Page 97. Had to pretend to be happy when Kevin got his promotion. Oscar-worthy performance. Maybe I should get an award for best wife in a leading role. There was no defense against my own words. For what it's worth, he said at the door. I really did love you. Even the parts you hated about yourself. I thought that's what marriage was. Accepting the whole person. Guess I was wrong. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Kevin gave me everything I asked for. Didn't fight on anything. Just wanted it over. I heard through mutual friends that he'd started dating someone from his cycling group. A teacher, like him. Someone who probably didn't mock his hobbies, or his emotions, or his body. Rachel never spoke to me again. Neither did most of our friend group once word spread. Turns out, when you're exposed as someone who emotionally abuses their spouse for sport, people tend to step back. I kept the house, but it felt haunted. Every room held a memory I'd twisted into mockery. The bedroom where Kevin had rubbed my back through food poisoning. I'd texted Rachel that his caretaking was suffocating. The kitchen where he'd taught himself to bake bread during lockdown. I'd called it another boring hobby for boring Kevin. The bathroom where he'd held my hair during morning sickness from the pregnancy that didn't take. I'd told Rachel he was being too emotional about the miscarriage. That one haunted me most. Kevin had cried for days after we lost the baby. Had suggested we name it, have some kind of memorial. I'd thought he was being ridiculous, overly sentimental. Told Rachel he was making it all about him when I was the one who'd physically suffered. But now, alone in the house we'd planned to fill with children, I finally understood. He'd been grieving a future, a family, a piece of us. And I'd mocked him for feeling too much while I felt too little. No, that wasn't true either. I'd felt plenty, just buried it under sarcasm and superiority, texted it away to Rachel instead of processing it with my partner. I started therapy. Dr. Martinez didn't pull punches. You used your friend as an emotional dumping ground and your husband as an emotional punching bag, she said during our third session. The question is why? The answer was uglier than the texts. I'd been terrified. Terrified of being vulnerable. Terrified of being seen as weak. Terrified of loving someone who might leave. So I'd left first, emotionally speaking. Turned Kevin into a caricature I could feel superior to instead of a person I could lose. Classic self-sabotage, Dr. Martinez said, with a side of emotional abuse. I never hit him, never called him names to his face. Physical abuse isn't the only kind. You systematically undermined his self-worth to a third party, shared intimate details without consent, mocked his vulnerabilities. That's abuse, whether you meant it to be or not. She was right. I'd been an abuser with a smartphone and a willing audience. I saw Kevin once more, a year after the divorce. At a mutual friend's barbecue I'd almost skipped but forced myself to attend. He was there with his new girlfriend, Sarah, the teacher. She was pretty in an understated way, with kind eyes and a gentle laugh. I watched them from across the yard. The way she touched his arm when she talked. The way he smiled. Really smiled, not the careful one he'd worn in our last years. The way they moved together, natural and easy. But what really broke me was watching him sing. Someone had brought out a guitar and people were taking turns. When Kevin's turn came, Sarah squeezed his hand encouragingly. He sang Wonderwall, badly, enthusiastically, joyfully. And when he finished, Sarah kissed him right there in front of everyone, said, "That was perfect," loud enough for all to hear. She wasn't embarrassed, wasn't filming him to mock later, was just proud of him as he was. "They're good together," said Marcy, the host, appearing at my elbow. "She appreciates him. Really sees him, you know?" "Yeah," I said, "I can tell." "She's nothing like—" Marcy caught herself, flushed. "Sorry, I didn't mean—" "Like me. You can say it. She's nothing like me." I watched Sarah lean into Kevin, whisper something that made him laugh. "That's why they work. He's different now, more confident, like he finally believes he's worth something." Because he was with someone who told him so. Not in texts to friends, but to his face. Every day. I left early, but not before Kevin caught my eye across the yard. He nodded, polite, distant, final. The kind of acknowledgement you give a stranger you used to know. Back home, I sat with my laptop and did something I should have done years ago. I wrote him a letter. Not an excuse or a justification, but an acknowledgement. "Kevin, you were right about everything. I was cruel, contemptuous, and unworthy of the love you gave me. You deserved a partner who celebrated you, not one who tore you down for entertainment. I turned your kindness into weakness, your emotions into punchlines, your love into something to mock. I'm sorry. Not because I got caught, but because I did it at all. You're a good man who loved me completely, and I repaid that love with betrayal of the worst kind. I hope you've found someone who sees what I was too broken to see, that you're wonderful exactly as you are. Who knows that crying at movies shows empathy, not weakness? That loving your mother shows character, not dependency. That taking your time in life and in love shows thoughtfulness, not inadequacy. You deserved better than me. I'm glad you found it, Delia. I never sent it. Some apologies are more for the person giving them than receiving them. Kevin didn't need my words. He had Sarah's actions, her genuine love, her appreciation for everything I'd mocked. But I kept the letter. A reminder of who I'd been and who I was trying not to be anymore. A reminder that words have weight, that cruelty leaves scars, that the person you promised to love and cherish shouldn't be reduced to entertainment for others. Rachel had done us both a favor, though it took me too long to see it. She'd freed Kevin from a marriage to someone who didn't deserve him. And she'd shown me exactly who I was, someone who needed to change, fundamentally and completely, before I ever tried to love someone again. The screenshots still exist somewhere, I'm sure. 247 pages of evidence that I was capable of sustained emotional cruelty, that I could smile at someone over breakfast and savage them over text before lunch, that I could take vows of love and honor while treating my husband like a joke I couldn't wait to share. Some people shouldn't be trusted with hearts. I was one of them. Maybe someday, after enough therapy and self-reflection, I'll be worthy of someone's trust again. But not yet. Not even close. For now, I live alone in the house Kevin and I bought together, surrounded by ghosts of the marriage I'd destroyed text by text. It's what I deserve. And unlike Kevin, I actually do deserve it.